All right, on Wednesday, Governor Snyder signed what his office called landmark medical marijuana legislation to regulate dispensaries and clarify the legality of edible products in Michigan and concentrates. So, the new law, which builds on the 2008 voter approved medical pot law, will allow licensed dispensaries to operate in communities that choose to allow them. Growers, processors, testing facilities, and transporters will also be licensed and regulated. Other bills in the package formally legalize patient use of marijuana infused products, including edibles and tinctures, and creates a seed to sale tracking system designed to ensure medical pot does not leak into the black market. This is from Jonathan Oosting, the Detroit News Lansing Bureau. I'm not sure if I'm going to continue to read this verbatim because I don't like his use of the word pot to describe medicine. It's just it's getting to be like PC police time on the word pot. All right, let's not use it. It's propaganda. It's worse than marijuana, which is also a propagandist word. So the new law will help Michiganders of all ages and varying medical conditions access safe products to relieve their suffering, Snyder said in a statement. We can finally implement a solid framework that gives patients a safe source from which to purchase and utilize medical marijuana. This is Governor Rick Snyder, not the most liked guy in the world, but he actually kind of sounds human there. Okay, the new regulations bring some clarity to medical marijuana law that has prompted several major legal fights, including a Supreme Court ruling empowering county prosecutors to basically shut down dispensaries, and a Court of Appeals ruling that edibles, edible marijuana, concentrated marijuana that's turned into butter or brownies or cookies or whatever, as well as just you got your tinctures and edible marijuana oils that patients you just basically eat it, capsule form usually. So anyway, there was a court ruling that said that was all not covered under the medical marijuana law of 2008. And if you read the law, it kind of was foggy about definitions and really loose about what was actually allowed by the law or what the protections were. So the courts, instead of the people that were using the courts as a testing grounds per se to get precedents, is set for the law to be more catered to what's actually going on in the communities. The courts were basically used as kangaroo courts, where they just brought in the defendants and used the law against them, and in a lot of cases they weren't even allowed to use medical marijuana as a defense. So I guess what they're basically saying is these new laws are going to make sure that there's no more of these gray areas that we have to just arrest people and then figure it out later in court. All right, so this reform package was supported by groups like National Patients' Rights Association. Let me give you a couple more. Also, the Michigan Epilepsy Foundation and Michigan Parents for Compassion. The people that were opposed to this, to be honest, I don't really know who they. I know who they are. They're all the caregivers out there that are currently growing marijuana in the Michigan caregiver patient system. I'm one of them. And when the word of this law or these laws coming back to possibly pass, this was like back in January when people were talking about these again, or maybe even February, and then they just sat there. They never did anything. And what people were saying then was, hey, they're basically, we got to get my legalized passed, because what the state legislature is doing is basically a takeover of the program. They're going to make the old caregiver patient model obsolete and turn it over to corporate entities that can afford, exorbitant fees. That's partially true, but I don't think the fees are going to be set so high that only the really rich investor-based or just people with lots of money, and obviously they're well connected because they have lots of money. So I don't think it's like that. But anyway, it says that there was activists who thought it would undermine the voter-approved system allowing caregivers and patients to grow a limited number of plants at home. There's there's nothing like that in the law, and there's no organized groups. Even my legal eyes, I've heard Jeff Hank talk about the law. Uh, the runaway speculation of this becoming something that could end the medical marijuana program as we know it is just not there yet. The proof is not there, and the organizational effort to oppose this is not there. At the very most, you're going to go to message boards below video clips or news stories talking about the laws, and in there you'll find people talking about how, oh, this is a big, takeaway or giveaway, or this is going to ruin the caregiver-patient model, and so on and so forth. But it's just, you could easily tear those people's arguments apart by asking them, well, what is it in the law that you think is going to change your current situation? And I know a lot of people are probably thinking, well, what you should be saying is, why can't caregivers get involved in the money making aspect of this law? There's never been a money making aspect to caregiving in Michigan as in the medical marijuana world, and it's really carefully written, in fact, so that you can't really get rich off it. I mean, you could probably use the law to justify making enough money to pay your light bills and your rent and stuff. But as far as getting rich off of medical marijuana, it wasn't there for the caregivers before. And basically, if you read the old 2008 law, it was designed for a compassionate system of people that know how to grow marijuana, weed, whatever, and people that are, people that are patients and people that are both, and basically the caregiver will grow plants for a patient that can't grow or otherwise don't grow. Not everybody grows marijuana. It's not for everybody. It's just like any other horticultural farming type thing that you can maximize making money off of it by basically using the whole plant instead of just growing it for one commercial aspect of it. And and you gotta be industrious, I guess, if you want to make money off of the medical marijuana laws as they were in 28. But the ones that are coming into play now, let's do some quick rewinding here and remind everybody that although Governor Snyder just signed that law yesterday, it doesn't even go into effect, as in it's not even going to be actually enacted for 90 days. What does that mean? I think the enacting of the law in 90 days is particularly something that dispensaries should pay attention to, particularly that aspect of this. If you're a current dispensary operating in Michigan, I would warn you to make sure that you're okay with your local police. I mean, I would be so bold as to go to the police station and talk to the police in your county, local office, whatever, whoever represents the police that police your neighborhood. I would definitely want to go ask them if everything's still okay, because you would rather it be you asking them than you getting raided and then having to answer to the jury or whatever kind of court case you're going to end up in. So even though it's enacted in 90 days, that doesn't make your dispensary legit in 90 days. Your dispensary more than likely is the farthest thing from legit, and one of the things that they're going to want to have focused on as something to get out of the way, make examples out of, like, hey, these guys aren't doing it according to the rules. And I mean, you can watch another video of mine talking about 4209, the main law in this package that changes the whole game. And what it talks about is licensing 5 different marijuana facilities, one of them being a provisioning center. So the provisioning center has its own set of rules to it, and even in application fees, you have to make sure that your local township has adopted their own ordinances, which is very important because that will set application fees and assessment fees, and they're the ones that are responsible to make sure they go inspect your facility or whatever, make sure everything checks out. And not sure what part they have in the statewide monitoring system, but they're going to be part of that for some reason too. But anyway, I'm getting kind of sidetracked here. The law goes in effect in 90 days. That might offer some protections for medibles and other things, but it doesn't offer protection for anything that has to do with commercially distributing cannabis in Michigan. So be careful on all fronts. Also, once that goes into effect, there's another 360-day period of time, because it says right in the law, 360 days after the law is enacted, so 90 days and then 360 days after that, that's when you can apply for your first marijuana facilities license. And this covers all facilities. This covers the dispensary, which is the provisioning center. You got your grower facility, your transporter, your tracking people, and your testing facilities, or safety compliance facilities, they call it. That's 450 days, I think, that you have to wait from today. Today, 449 more days, and you can put in for one of these licenses. Okay, so you have of course, the opposition from Oakland County Sheriff Mike Ducard. He's the biggest prohibitionist in the state, last time I checked. He's really worried about someone that had a felony 10 years ago getting a job in the marijuana business. I mean, that's basically it didn't change Snyder's mind. It didn't force his hand not to sign that bill into law. So basically, Oakland County, they're going to be the place to watch over the next 90 days, and then after that, there's another year that you're going to have before you can actually open a legitimate facility. He's already said that he's going to go out and shut down every dispensary in his county, even though that there's a lot of towns in his county, thanks to Deborah Young, that have decriminalized marijuana. So we'll see how whatever on that guy. Now, there's also this tax. Dispensary purchases would be subject to the state's 6% sales tax. So that's something that I didn't notice before. I just wanted to give it a quick mention. The law has this 3% tax on all receipts that the dispensary has. So there's already a 3% grab by the state. And then there's another 6% tax every time someone buys something. In Michigan, we have a 6% sales tax. I mean, it don't apply to food, but whatever you can get taxed on. And apparently now you can get taxed on medical marijuana, which is medicine, so you can get taxed on medicine. Unbelievable, the government wants to make sick people pay taxes on medicine. Now, I can understand the dispensary 3% tax, maybe a little bit, but not really there either, because you're just making them have to raise prices to meet that extra cost of doing business. So anyway, yeah, this charging patients taxes on their purchases is a little bit over the top, I think. So the dispensary tax is supposed to generate this big $21 million, according to analysts, with revenues going towards Firefighter Cancer Presumption Fund. I might have mentioned that. I don't know why we got to flip the bill for that. Oh yeah, because Snyder gouged their pensions and they don't have good insurance and all that stuff. All right, so local governments also get this money, get a break off of this money. And as if they're not getting enough money in tax, in assessment fees and actual application fees, now they're getting kickbacks from a fund created by taxing the medicine, which just doesn't make any sense. And then you got sheriff's departments and state police. All told, they're getting like 30% of it right there. The sheriff's departments and state police, if you look at all the money they're getting, plus like instant like drop off money right off the top, like 500,000 here, $1 million there. We're basically getting taxed to give the police more money. And as we've seen in a lot of places in Michigan, it seems like the police have enough money and equipment. The only place that don't seem to be true is in the inner cities, where there's hardly any police and hardly any equipment. But then as soon as you go out to the suburbs, 5 miles away, boom, you have like full military vehicles, helicopters, you name it. The cops can come out in SWAT teams with full military gear on and tanks and stuff. That's what we got, and we don't need already. So I don't know. The state police just hired thousands of more police last year, and I don't understand why we got to keep giving money to them. Oh yeah, because they're not going to be forfeiting as much of our stuff. I don't know, because there's forfeiture protections in here to protect forfeiture laws, as in not protect you, but protect them, so they can still be able to stomp all over your Fourth Amendment rights and then take whatever they want and sell it for profit. Even your cash, they can take your cash and just keep it. So there's this representative named Mike Calton from Nashville, Michigan. He's a Republican, and he's one of the sponsors of one of the bills. And last week he said that the bills help medical marijuana patients. I think he got involved with this because somebody he knows had cancer or something that's treatable by marijuana, and he's seen it firsthand. So when you talk about politics and trying to get things changed, because obviously we need something different than a system that just throws people in prison for marijuana. And medical marijuana, obviously we need to definitely be compassionate about what this is. And so when the Republicans, when it hits home, then they're all of a sudden they're in. These bills are for the patients. They will help children with seizure disorders. They will help people with cancer maintain their quality of life, Calton said. Yeah, I believe his selling point was that he's seen how smoking cannabis was giving somebody that had chemo the munchies, so they were able to actually eat and live kind of a little bit normal life as they were dying from chemo. So the bills, again, to summarize, was House Bill 4209, which is now Public Act 281, creates Medical Marijuana Facilities Licensing Act and license to regulate the growth, processing, transport, and provisioning of medical marijuana. The House approved this 83 to 22. All these were approved in landslides. This infused products thing, 93 to 12, and the Tracking Act, 85 to 20. So the House Bill 4210, which is now Public Act 282, amends the voter-initiated Michigan Medical Marijuana Act to allow for the manufacture and use of marijuana-infused products by qualifying patients. And then you have House Bill 4827, which is now Public Act 283, which creates a Marijuana Tracking Act and a seed-to-sale tracking system to track all medical marijuana. There you have it. I guess for the sake of arguing, I'm gonna have to just say, in my opinion, I'm waiting to see what these fees, and I've seen the maximum numbers and what you could get hit with by assessments. When we see what the application fees are going to be rolled out and look like, then we can definitely say, and we can already say that since we've seen some maximum numbers, that this might be what determines whether or not this is something that was designed for anybody to get involved with. Like if you were a caregiver and you feel like you want to get one of these licenses to grow 500 plants or 1,000 or 1,500, just remember your patients, remember what kind of responsibility you will have, and we're just going to have to wait and see a little bit more what's going on. I will keep you informed. I usually don't report on the busts that are going on, because you could get bogged down in those. They're each one is a unique story with something really crazy that's implicated in it, and they happen all the time. So it's kind of hard. It's going to be hard to draw a line right now and say, okay, now we're looking at a period of time between when this became law and when it's going to be enacted, which is 90 days. And then there's 450 days before the first license for a facility can even be put in for. Who knows how long after that a facility is up and running. We're looking at about 2 years before we see any medical marijuana legally sold in a dispensary in Michigan. Keep that in mind. And other than that, uh, we don't really know what they have planned between now and then. The dispensaries that have been operating for, in some cases, the whole time this law has been enacted, the 2008 law, so they've been almost there for 10 years, or maybe have to shut their doors down because of fear. Like I said, you might want to get a hold of your local authorities, your mayor, your city council, whatever you got, get a hold of them, see how they feel about what's going on. State police, I hate to say it, but they know you're there. I mean, you might as well ask them what they're going to do or if they got any plans to do anything. I mean, you really are, we're operating in a gray area. They just made that gray area not gray anymore. As in, it's a law that you have to look at that. And maybe the 90 days is kind of like a grace period between now and then. You have to pack it up. Maybe the last day of that 90 days, you flip the sign over that says closed for good, and then you put your application in and wait, or you have to wait a year and then put the application in. So I don't know, man. I'm going to talk to a few different people and see what the really, how to clarify this whole this period. I guess you want to call it like a purgatory between now and when these new facility licenses will be able to be obtained, and what does that mean for people that are currently operating dispensaries today. All right, keep informed on these stories and more, and subscribe and tell your friends about it. We need subscribers here. Have a good one.